Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Good evening and welcome to Spring Global on Western Spring Television. Now the headlines. Russia says it targeted Ukraine's military facilities in yesterday's airstrike. 2 soldiers killed as gunmen attack United Nations police patrol in Mali. U.S. Congress to recommend criminal charges against Donald Trump for his role in January 6th Capitol riot. My name is Evelyn Ohiola. Russia has claimed that its high-precision weapons hit Ukraine's military-industrial complex and energy and military administrative facilities. In a statement, the Russian Defense Ministry said as a result of the strike, the transportation of weapons and ammunition of foreign production has been thwarted. The ministry added that Ukraine's plants producing weapons, military equipment and ammunition had also been disabled. The comment comes a day after Ukraine was subject to a barrage of missiles which forced multiple cities into darkness and water shortages. Moldova has suspended the broadcast licenses of 6 television channels, accusing them of misinformation, inaccurate coverage of Russia's war in Ukraine, and attempts to manipulate public opinion. Moldova's Commission for Exceptional Situations, which was established after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, announced late on Friday that licenses of the channels First in Moldova, RTL Moldova, Accent TV, NTV Moldova, TV6 and Oria TV would be revoked. The decision to suspend the channels was made after Moldova's Audiovisual Council found a lack of correct information in the coverage of national events, but also of the war in Ukraine. It added that the suspensions aim to prevent the risk of disinformation or attempts to manipulate public opinion. 4 of the 6 suspended channels regularly retransmit programs from Russian TV channels that on Friday were banned by the European Council as part of a fresh wave of sanctions against Russia. Ireland has a new Prime Minister, Leo Varadkar, as he and former Prime Minister Michael Martin swap roles. 87 TDs Irish Parliament voted to elect Mr. Varadkar, while 62 were against his nomination. Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Varadkar takes over from Mr. Martin as government leader, while Mr. Martin becomes Deputy Prime Minister. The rotation of power was laid down in the coalition agreement of June 2020. The deal brought together Mr. Varadkar's Fine Gael Party, Mr. Martin's Fianna Fáil, and the Green Party in a historic compromise. In Africa, at least 2 officers from the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali have been killed as an unidentified gunman attacked a United Nations police patrol near the city of Timbuktu. The mission head, El Ghazim Wayne, confirmed the incident and revealed that 4 other peacekeepers were injured in the attack. The UN's multidimensional integrated stabilization mission in Mali, MINUSMA, in a statement strongly condemned the deadly attack. Mali has been grappling with an armed rebellion since 2012, which has led to the death of thousands of people and displaced hundreds of thousands more. MINUSMA's peacekeeping future is in doubt as violence rages in the center, north, and east of the African nation. The death toll in the Democratic Republic of Congo continues to rise following heavy rain and extreme flooding that have ravaged the country in recent days. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said at least 169 people have died as a result of destructive rains in the capital, Kinshasa. According to the UN body, the flooding left 30 people injured and destroyed an estimated 280 homes across the capital and affected approximately 38,000 residents. According to local officials, the cities Montangafula and Ngalima districts were the hardest hit by the downpours. A joint team from OCHA and the government's Social Affairs Ministry visited affected areas earlier in the week to inspect the damage. A 2-year-old boy has survived being attacked by a hippopotamus near his home in southwestern Uganda. Iga Paul was playing near the shores of Lake Edward when the hippo struck. Police said the animal grabbed the toddler and swallowed half of his body, and added that a local man fought the hippo off by throwing stones. Uganda's Wildlife Authority have disputed this account, saying the boy was attacked rather than swallowed. According to police, after the attack, the toddler was taken to a nearby medical center where he was treated for his injuries. The United Nations General Assembly has postponed its decision on whether Myanmar's military government and Afghanistan's Taliban leaders can send ambassadors to the UN in New York. The 193-member General Assembly approved by a consensus a recommendation by its Credentials Committee to delay the vote on the matters on Friday. The Assembly also deferring its decision on rival claims to Libya's UN seat. The postponement means the current envoys of Myanmar, Afghanistan, and Libya remain in place. The chairs of the Credentials Committee, Guyana's UN Ambassador Caroline Rodriguez-Biquet, said the committee decided to postpone its consideration of the credentials pertaining to the representatives of Myanmar, Afghanistan, and of Libya. The vote could now be postponed to a future date in the ongoing 77th session of the General Assembly, which expires in September 2023. UN acceptance of ambassadors from Myanmar's military government, the Taliban in Kabul, and Libya's Eastern-backed government would act as the first step towards their official recognition on the global stage. You're still watching Spring Global on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
Affected. Sound. Found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission. Even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Èdè Yorùbá jẹ́ ọ̀kan lára àwọn èdè tí wọ́n ń sọ ní agbègbè Niger Congo. Èdè Yorùbá gbajúgbajà ní àwọn orílẹ̀-èdè tó ń bẹ ní ẹkùn ìwọ̀ oòrùn ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀. Ó kéré tán, àwọn ènìyàn bíi mílíọ̀nù 14 ló ń sọ èdè Yorùbá lónìí. Ètò akọ́mọlédè ló ń dé sójú ìwòran yín láti iléeṣẹ́ móhùnmáwòrán WSTV ìkànnì 102 channel 190 lórí StarTimes. Folúṣọ́ Ayaolúwagbémiga, ìyá ìjọ pèdèpèdè, ìyá àkọ́mọlédè ló kọ tèmi. Yorùbá dùn púpọ̀, Yorùbá ò lè kú, Yorùbá ò lè parun. Tiwa làṣà, tiwa lèdè, tiwa nìṣẹ̀ṣe, àkọ́mọlédè.
Atótó arére.
Kò ṣeé má gbọ́ ìròyìn.
Welcome back. The congressional inquiry into last year's Capitol riot will reportedly recommend 3 criminal charges against former President Donald Trump. The House of Representatives Select Committee will seek an unprecedented charge of insurrection against the former U.S. president. The panel is expected to publish its final report next week. Mr. Trump denies wrongdoing, stating that the January 6th UN Select Committee held short trials by never Trump partisans who are a stain on this country's history. Trump supporters stormed Congress on January 6, 2021 in a bid to stop Joe Biden's certification as president. The Justice Department, which is already investigating Mr. Trump's role in the arrest, is not obliged to consider referrals from any congressional panel. Authorities in Peru have held high-level talks to try to resolve a deepening political crisis triggered by the ousting of the former president. The Council of State, the body made up of representatives of all branches of power and church leaders, had a 3-hour meeting in the capital, Lima. Earlier, 2 government ministers resigned following days of violent protests over the impeachment of Pedro Castillo on the 7th of December. More than 20 people have been killed. Moving on to sports, FIFA President Gianni Infantino says the 2022 World Cup in Qatar has been a success. Infantino also highlighted the performance of African and Middle Eastern teams. According to him, the tournament approached 5 billion in terms of viewing figures. He described it as a very fair World Cup on the pitch with no simulations, not so many yellow and red cards. Still in sports, Barcelona midfielder Sergio Busquets has announced his international retirement. The 34-year-old Barcelona stalwart on a social media platform said the moment has arrived for him to bid farewell to the national team. Busquets is the last member of the 2010 team to bow out of international football. He was also part of the team that won the 2012 European title. He was captain of the 2022 World Cup side that fell to a penalty shootout defeat to Morocco in the last 16. Only fellow 2010 teammate Iker Casillas with 167 caps and Sergio Ramos 180 caps have represented Spain more than him with 143 caps. Before we end Spring Global, here is a recap of our top stories. Russia has claimed that its high-precision weapons hit Ukraine's military-industrial complex and energy and military administrative facilities. At least 2 officers from the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali have been killed as an unidentified gunman attacked a United Nations police patrol near the city of Timbuktu. The United States Congressional Inquiry into last year's Capitol riot will reportedly recommend 3 criminal charges against former President Donald Trump. Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. I am Evelyn Ohiola. Thank you for watching.